I will tell you this, I've had multiple complaints that have come from that building. You're talking about the Borders Books building. First and foremost, you may not have gotten to me because the secretary may have addressed it, and I regret that. I will venture a guess and say that I've worked with at least 15 to 20 separate residents on either getting them a complete refund on any fines or any towing charges that they've incurred. So as far as getting a hold of me, my cell number, 201-424-5014. I'll work on it for you. I'll work on it for you tomorrow morning. But if you never got to me because they didn't bring it to me, I don't know what to tell you, because I handle these calls each and every day.
I tried your cell phone number, your box call.
We respond to all of them.
And I was told also by the police department that there were signs there, no signs for a car, and that it wasn't illegal.
Did you, when you parked there, did you leave the site at any point?
I may have left, there were no signs saying I can't leave the site.
But you can't, but ma'am, in all fairness, if you park on someone's private shopping center and you leave, that's the problem. They have, let me just finish, they have a spotter there. So the second you leave, they impose a ticket. It's unfair, I get it, but once you leave that site, you're subjected to their...
My intention was to go to Wayne Reed, which is in that site.
Uh-huh.
If I leave there and I don't know that I'm not allowed to do this, walk across, let's say, Chase and come back to Wayne Reed, within 2 seconds, but 2 minutes, my car was gone. So I am intending to use that shopping center. They did have a spotter there, apparently. I couldn't even get to Wayne Reed to see the signs in Wayne Reed, which said, don't go anywhere. There was no sign in front of me, and the police, traffic, whoever it was, that went to check it out, said, oh, there are signs all over, which there aren't.
You know, ma'am, again, it just... I regret that I was unable to respond to you, but in a town of 40,000 people, if I was unable to get to your particular situation personally, I apologize to you. I know this is no consolation for you, but I've handled dozens of folks that have had problems with that. As a matter of fact, we had a little conversation with the planning board when they were last before them, dealing very much with that parking issue. So, yeah, you know what? 1 or 2 of you may slip every once in a while. That's regrettable. But I gotta tell you, I got a pretty good level of success with dealing with taxpayer and community issues. And I'm sorry I didn't get to yours. Otherwise, I'm confident I could have resolved it. Now, if you don't want me to, I won't address it. I will give you my cell number, and I'll take your call tomorrow morning. I'll be in at 6:30, and I will take it up with them if you'd like.
Okay,
You have my word.
Okay. Okay, let's,
To address it, here's a little
did anybody else want to address that question?
Yes, I would. Ma'am, as your mayor, I would have regular office hours. I would have my secretary take down the caller's information, and I would review it on a daily basis. Very sorry for your trouble.
Mark, give me that for a minute.
Anybody else?
What are your hours at motor vehicles, Judith? Okay.
Don't I know you? No. Don't I?
Mike,
Yes.
nice.
I see you how many times?
And I know that you asked this, question.
But you could have told me, and I could have done exactly what the mayor could have done. See, we all work within one. If he's busy doing something for someone else in town, he'll make a phone call, and then we'll take over, and we'll take on from there. But if I don't see you at least 2, 3, 4 times a week, right? I wish you would have told me, because I would have been able to do that. And Judith, we all work long hours. We all work long and regular hours. But how are you going to make, by working at the motor vehicle, how are you going to make hours of service at the town?
I work 18 hours a day.
I mean, you know, I work myself. I go into my office at 6:45 in the morning. I'm lucky I made this tonight.
Okay,
All right? Thank you.
You could address that in closing.
I know you work very hard, Michael.
You
because
see me.
You come into my office and pick up boxes on your UPS truck. You make time, I'll make time. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Does anybody else that has an answer?
I'm sorry, I'm going to go from this side again, and I'll work my way around. Yes.
This question's for the mayor. Mayor, you indicated earlier that the redevelopment project, I believe you refer to it now as Zone 5.
Redevelopment Area 5.
Redevelopment Area 5 is stalled because you want to do it right. And I appreciate that. The problem is a great plan that's never implemented gets us nowhere. I heard, I believe
Councilman Cohen say that we're gonna get great ratables, but we're not getting those ratables right now. So my question to you is this. You indicated that the Tucker redevelopment lawsuit has been settled.
Yes, ma'am.
Where are we with that redevelopment? What can we count on? When can we go to the ribbon cutting ceremony?
The game plan is for the developer on the east, which is predominantly, the developer of the east, which is FLRA, which is predominantly residential. They're trying to get to the planning board to start the public hearing process, the latest, early December. That will be, I would estimate, 2 to 3 months of public hearings at a minimum, site plan approval thereafter, and God willing, commencement of this project in the first half of 2012. Tucker, who has some environmental considerations that they're now dealing with, are several months behind that timeline. You are talking about a project that costs upwards of $1 billion to develop. So people are proceeding very, very deliberately. As a matter of fact, we talk about office hours. We were at the mayor's office this morning from about 8:30 to about 2:30, dealing with affordable housing issues on the project with the developers, with the lawyers. So, again, the easy answer is to say yes and to allow it to happen haphazardly. And I know you're not suggesting that. I'm just saying we're just proceeding very, very deliberately to make sure it's done the right way. It's been fallow for 48 years. It spanned 8 different mayors. One of them ended up in witness protection. I just want to make sure it's done. And no, really, get the book, The Bribe. And I will tell you, we just want to make sure that it's done properly. Look, I am in a completely no-win situation. If I was at the forefront of a park with Dean and DeLuca coffee shops, people would be screaming for ratables, where's the density? If I deal with and support density, people are saying, well, where are the rolling hills and the Dean and DeLuca coffee shops? Remain mindful, it is private property. And if we want to buy it, it's going to cost us upwards of 80 to 100 million. So that's the difficult rub, ma'am. It's the coexistence between making sure it's feasible for the developer, but still continuing to serve the best interests of the community. But it's a good question, and again, we are proceeding very deliberately with it.
Anybody else want to think?
Yeah, I'd like to answer that question as best I can. Mark, in a April 2010 council meeting, with great jubilation and after a lot of work, announced that the project was going to go to Fort Lee Development, which is SJP and the James Demetriakis. What happened subsequent to that was that I just assumed that Tucker, I don't assume this, I know this for a fact, Tucker brought a lawsuit. A year later, Tucker is back in the project for one of the parcels. Fort Lee, from what I can tell, was cited by the court, and this gets into the transparency issue, for violations of the Open Public Records Act and violations of the Open Public Meetings Act. There was a fine of roughly $120,000 assessed by the master in this situation.
No, that's not true, my friend. I'm sorry. You can't suggest that we were penalizing
Mr. Mayor,
the master.
Mr.
There was
Mayor,
no such
Mr.
fine.
Mayor, closing, you can bring that up.
Well, Mark, then the issue that I see is that in the April 2011 minutes is that there was an agreement that the three people involved, Fort Lee Redevelopment, Tucker, and Fort Lee would pay the master $45,000 each for court fees, and that the matter was settled. So, knowing it's a big project, knowing that things happen, I'm hearing from you that it may take place in 2012. We just continue to wait and see.
Thank you. Anybody else that has not answered that?
Well, I just want to get this straightened out because I don't like to be charged with violating the Open Public Meetings Act when it's not true, and we did not do anything to violate the Open Public Meetings Act. When Tucker brought its lawsuit as the spurned suitor in the RFP process, and also the owner of half the property, and therefore felt they had a valuable right that they needed to protect, they asked for, in what's called the discovery process in the lawsuit, they asked for piles and piles of the documents that we considered in selecting the designating FLRA as the developer. Those documents contain financial information of the which we considered proprietary to each of the parties, not subject to the Open Public Records Act, which is different than the Open Public Meetings Act, and privileged. This resulted in a lengthy court dispute, but the dispute was not over whether we had violated the Open Public Meetings Act or the Open Public Records Act, but what was discoverable by the parties in the lawsuit. That was what the lawsuit was all, that's what that issue was all about. It was settled, and also the entire litigation was settled by agreement which brought both of the developers into the process. So we didn't, I want to make it clear, we did not violate the Open Public Meetings Act, nor were we so charged. That's a serious charge to be leveled, and it wasn't true.
Thank you.
I just think it begs the question, if the council did nothing wrong, and I know that a lot of the charges were dropped. I was actually at that council meeting when the mayor made that announcement. But there was one or two things that weren't dropped, and it was reported that it had to do with Oprah. Maybe it didn't. But it just is very curious. If the council spent all that time and decided that SJP and SLA, or whatever they're called, should develop the whole property, what was it then, if they didn't have something, that made them give the property back to Tucker?
Because he agreed to proceed
Mr.
without
Mayor,
subsidy.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, I thought it was a question, I'm sorry.
Okay, let's move to another question. Gentleman in the back.
We'll probably have time for a couple more questions. We're running a little late, and then because there's closing remarks.
Are you telling me to be brief?
Thank you.
I wish I had more time, to discuss, a liaison to the zoning board, which is not allowed by law, and council people coming to the zoning board, which is not allowed by law, and minutes of the zoning board, which are posted on the website. If you go to the PDF, you can get it. However, my question is directed at Ms. Fisher. You talk about leadership and the lack of leadership. And since I was quoted without attribution at the Port Authority hearings, and I know Ms. Cohen was out of town and unable to come, I was the one that said that these toll increases were unconscionable. My question to you, Ms. Fisher, is you were there because I saw you. Where was your voice? You claim that, the mayor got up and he said that there was room for something. I certainly got up and voiced my opinion. Dr. Levinson got up and voiced her opinion on this crucial issue to the people of Fort Lee. Where was your voice?
Thank you very much. It's a great question. Truth be told, I had competing meetings that night, but as the municipal chairman for the Republican Party and having a relationship with the Lieutenant Governor and Governor, I think my voice is better heard through those channels than taking time away from you. And you made a very eloquent speech, as did several people in this room.
I mean, my voice was heard. Obviously, people came up to me and said that they heard it. Where was yours? Nobody at Fort Lee heard it.
Thank you. Anybody else want to answer that question? Okay, we'll move to next question.
Yeah.
Our timekeeper over here has a question.
Okay. My name is Pablo Ramirez of 185 Myrtle Avenue. Speaking of toll increases, just a question for the challenges here. Do you know that Port Authority is actually ticketing for these residents and other commuters who want to go across the bridge to try to save a few bucks? I want to know, what do you think about it, and what will you do to get the situation?
I'm glad you repeat the question. Oh, yeah, this gentleman was saying that, especially in light of these outrageous tolls, and I want to apologize, by the way, Mr. That it's not attributing to you, I apologize. I know sometimes people don't like their name, whatever, so I apologize. But in terms of the tolls being outrageous, there are a lot of people that go down to get the bus, and there are cars that come and say, would you like to come in my car? And they go in the car. I know because many of us have done it. I think that's outrageous, and I think that they're trying to say that it's a safety issue. Well, it hasn't been a safety issue for many, many years. It's absolutely ridiculous, and we should be pounding them about it and saying, what, these are people alone. And that is why, getting back to the point that the parking authority buses that are mostly pretty empty, that they should be used to take Fort Lee residents only across the bridge for free. All right? That's something that they could do, that we can do, that's not going to cost extra money, it's not going to take away from anybody else and increase the quality of life for people. It's something easy we can do. I know the one bus that does have regular people all the time, it is the one that goes to the ferry, the Edgewater Ferry. But I know for a fact, because the bus comes by my apartment house, that and I've asked a lot of seniors, but there are only certain times when there's really any sizable amount of people. So it's outrageous, and we should fight it, and you better believe that I'll be fighting it if I get elected.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Very good point. The town fathers supply jitney bus down to Imperator's Ferry. Happens to be Mr. Cohan's stepfather, fine. But there's no preclusion for the same kind of jitney bus to take our residents across the bridge to Port Authority. The only thing standing in the way is the federal DOT requirement that the bus company have a $3 million bond or insurance policy. And we could offer this, just as we offer a free ride down to the ferry, we could offer a free ride across the bridge for our residents. It would be a huge benefit for our business people here in Fort Lee.
I mean, you got you guys, again, you got respectfully, Judith, you need to recognize that these ideas that you speak of, do you have any idea what a $3 million either letter of credit or bond would cost the borough on an annual basis? I can assure you it would cost tens and tens of thousands of dollars. If we ever, that's why politics is a crazy game, if we ever implemented that, right now we'd be being criticized for it. You need to weigh the cost and everything that you propose. As far as the carpool program, I was only made aware of this a week and a half ago, ma'am, where I met with you after the meeting. In fact, we met a few days later, this past Friday, for about an hour and a half. We sent a lengthy letter. Did you not get a copy of it? I sent it to, you did? To the executive director of the Port Authority, who's convened a meeting with me Friday. I plan on actually meeting him just before the bus stop where the carpooling apparently takes place. I will tell you they have safety concerns. There should be a registration process, but I agree with you 100%, because I never even knew that carpoolers pay $3, $4 as opposed to the $8 or $9. So, I'm on it. We've met for at least 2 or 3 hours. I met with friends of yours. A few of them are in the room. I've sent letters and a meeting with the Port Authority on Friday. I can't do more than that. But we'll bring some sort of conclusion to it.
Thank you. We're going to take one more question, last question, in the back.
This is mostly to the Republicans, but Democrats can answer. You talked a lot about the fair funding for the schools. As far as I understand, that is for the schools and really doesn't belong here. I also understand it needs a constitutional amendment, which has to take place in Trenton first. Not that we all don't want more money for our schools. It really doesn't require the council to vote or do anything on it. So I don't understand why you're bringing up that issue, and why aren't you bringing up issues that you actually can solve if elected to these positions?
Thank you for the question, ma'am. We were challenged to indicate what we would do or what we would support to lessen the tax burden in town, and also to basically support the town's growth and economic environment. Yes, we can talk about meters. Yes, we can talk about parking stickers. Yes, we can talk about alternative fees. Yes, salary, keeping tight, absolutely. But for a meaningful approach to be taken on the real issue for property taxpayers in Fort Lee, and in probably the state of New Jersey, it is the issue of our schools. So that is why I brought it up. Yes, it is a legislative issue. The Republicans have supported it. I don't think the Democrats have had much support for it. What we need is a bipartisan approach, because property taxes are out of hand. I hope that answers your question.
Anybody else want to answer that? Okay, thank you. We're gonna, I'm sorry, Mrs. Fisher.
Yes, we brought it up in response to a question, but to fund schools and municipal government, we go back to the same well time and time again, and that's you, the property taxpayer. You know, there will be another referendum because the school needs infrastructure. You know, it's been delayed. Years ago, the state government required that schools refund their surplus. So it's not their fault that they don't have the money at hand to replace the boilers and do critical projects. They will come back to the same well, to the same taxpayers, and ask for more money for critical needs. This Fair School Funding Act is a way to make it affordable for the property taxpayer. This piece of legislation has been renamed several times over the years. It's actually pended in the legislature 8 years. I want you to know that your assembly people, your senators, have blocked it from coming to the floor. We happen to have a candidate for assembly in the audience, Keith Jensen, who has personally championed this issue, and I would appreciate you asking him about this issue, but in reality, we just brought it up because it was questioned to us.
Okay, we're going to move on to the closing, final statements. We 3 candidates have up to 3 minutes to make their final statements. In the order it was selected, Mr. Newman will go first. Mr. Norton.
Congressman Norton.
No, Congressman Silverman, Assemblyman.
Yeah, just refer to me as Congressman.
No, not yet. Hey, that's my job.
Sorry. I'm new to the politics here at Fort Lee. I am a businessman at heart. I'm a fiscal conservative. I'm socially liberal. The purpose of me running is to see that there is some independent thought, some diversification in the thought process here at Fort Lee. I do think that the mayor and council are doing a good job keeping costs down. I do think that the way and means of us or Fort Lee collecting fees, etc., is a bit onerous. I personally pay $35 a month for a property tax for an extra parking space in my garage. In addition to that, I pay a $30 fee just to go through the condominium. I certainly know fees. I don't like them. I think it's bad for business. And I'm running so that someone can take a good look, work hand in hand on a bipartisan basis. Hopefully, I'll have support by my fellow Republican candidates. But I think it's time for a little bit of a change in Fort Lee. I think that the current administration and the legacy administrations have had a good portion of time in there, and I think that it can be improved. I've been here since 1995, and as I said earlier, the visual, business, and aesthetic footprint of Fort Lee doesn't appear to be getting any better. If elected, I pledge that I will attend all council meetings, all executive meetings, and if I am a liaison to a particular department, I will attend those meetings as well. I don't have all the answers. I hopefully have enough questions to be able to obtain your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tonight you've heard many different avenues in which how to run government, but yet I haven't heard one yet come to the forefront from the Republican team. They say this, they say that, but they never give you the, hey, why don't we do this, or try it, and if it doesn't work, either revamp it or we'll move on to something else. I stand here, and people look at me and go, liaison, I should be there all the time. Well, I'm the liaison to the police department. Should I sit there all day long? The liaison to the fire department, I do make meetings there. When they call me to let me know that they're going to be there, and if I have the time, I do show up. If not, I pick up my phone and I call them. So, I'm also the liaison to the Board of Ed. So, I was there once, if you remember that, and I think I was told that I created a ruckus. You might not have been there for that one, but I was there for that one. But I will tell you one thing, though. I just think that for good government, and nobody sees what happens behind the scenes at our meetings, we really work as a team. We mesh well. I think the progress that the town has been making is on an upswing, and I just hope for your support and for the party support in November. Thank you.
Mrs. Cohen.
I want to thank Nina and the Homeowners Association. I want to thank our moderator and all the fellow candidates, and all those who came out tonight or are watching at home for this opportunity to reintroduce myself. I look forward to meeting all of you as I walk your district and invite you to send me a message on my Facebook page at Martha Cohen for Council. You can also read more about all our positions and ideas at www.fortleegop.org, and I hope you do. Let's review a few of the things I would like to do. First, an independent state audit of our books. Review the Fort Lee fee structure for vendors and residents, taking into account the current economic climate and formulating a reasonable comparison to other towns. Open the committee appointments to qualify new faces that can strengthen our future. Having the parking authority buses take residents across the bridge for free, especially during rush hour. Enact a moratorium on multiple family dwellings until a new master plan can be fully discussed and presented to our residents, which must arrest the overcrowding in our schools and stop our transformation into a community like North Bergen or West New York. As the police van incident showed us, going from what I think is 106 officers to 89 probably isn't a good idea, and we should review that situation. I personally have my own town hall meetings on a quarterly basis so that you can voice your concerns to me without hesitation. And no red light cameras, which brings me back to my moment of clarity and why it is crucial that you vote for Judith, Al, and myself this year. You see, we aren't really running against Armin, Mike, and Mark. If you look at the facts, we are running against the same candidate, all tightly controlled by one narrative. And if you continue voting for the same candidate as you have for almost 15 years, the simple truth is we will continue to decline and look more like West New York rather than Fort Lee as in years past. You see, our municipal election isn't about parties, it's about power. It's not about ideas in the future of our town, it's about patronage. Did you ever ask yourself how there are almost 40,000 people in this borough, yet of the 125 people assigned to committees and boards, many appointees are on multiple committees, already work for the town, are political donors? You get the idea. Do you wonder why there are no video uploads of meetings to the website or minutes from committees for multi-million-dollar bond ordinances that never posted? Ever wonder why almost 100% of their votes are unanimous? Don't let political requests that are being fulfilled now in this dash to election day make you forget the 3 or 4 years prior. How often have you, gentlemen, at your meetings, or taking out their notepads to write down your concerns. You deserve better. There are so many things we can do, but without a fundamental change at the council to break the stranglehold, including a phony and destructive narrative, there is no future. As Louis Brandeis said, a little sunlight is a big antiseptic. Let the sunlight in with Judith Allen and I. Let's get to work and make Portland great again.
Councilman Mullen.
Well, if you're gonna buy the constant innuendo of opacity, misinformation, non-information,